Hi everyone, I am Sarah of Rich Textures Crochet and welcome to the companion tutorial for the Lavender Throw. This is simply a companion tutorial because in it I will not be working the entire blanket, but will walk you through the stitches and technique, hopefully giving you all the tools that you need to complete this project successfully. For this project, you are going to need a total of 16 balls of Lion Brand Vanna's Choice yarn. You're going to need the yarn in 3 colors, and it will break down as follows. You will need 7 balls of the Dusty Purple. Now, one of these balls is optional. So if you would like to do your fringe in this color, the Dusty Purple, which is my color A in the pattern, you will need a total of 7 balls. If not, you will only need 6. You will also need 6 balls of purple, which is my color B in this pattern. And then finally, you will need 3 balls of the Fisherman's White, and this is my color C in the pattern. Of course, you may also use any brand or color of your choosing of a worsted weight yarn, and that is a yarn with this medium or number 4 on the package. For this project, you will also need a 6mm crochet hook. You will need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle to finish off your work and to weave in your ends. And you will also need a written copy of the crochet pattern. This can be found on my blog at www.richtexturescrochet.com, and there you will see that it is a free pattern. Now that we have everything together, we're going to take a moment to review the pattern. If you look at this pattern, you will see that it is made up of blocks of color. These blocks are not worked as separate pieces, but the blanket is made as one piece. This means that in the end, there will be no need to sew any squares together. It's all worked at one time. The blanket is also worked in rows, so it's worked back and forth across the entire width of the blanket. I have designed it so that there's no need to carry your yarn in behind your work. Instead, at one time, you are going to be working with 6 balls of yarn in the colors indicated in the pattern. You're simply going to be dropping the working color and picking up your new color and then work across as your work progresses. I'm going to show you a little bit more about what this means in just a moment. As I mentioned, I'm not going to be working the entire blanket in this video, but I'm only going to be working on a small swatch. So instead of working with a total of 6 balls at one time, today I'm going to only be working with 4 at one time, and I'm going to minimize my stitch counts quite drastically. So in the video, I'm going to focus more on how to do the moss stitch, which is a series of single crochets and chain stitches. And I'm also going to show you how to change your colors and work with these multiple balls of yarn. Okay, so now that we have everything together, let's begin. Okay, so in this tutorial, I am going to assume that you already have a basic understanding of crochet stitches, so things like how to make a slip knot, how to make a chain stitch, and how to do a single crochet. So I won't be going over those basics, but I'll be showing you how to take those basics and put them all together in this blanket. So the first thing that our pattern asks us to do is with our color A, and in my pattern, the color A is this this dusty purple. So with our color A, you're going to take it and you're going to chain 174 chains. Now today, for the purposes of this tutorial, as I mentioned, I'm only going to make a small swatch. I'm simply going to chain 38. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38. So this is just going to give me a good size for me to work with and be able to show it to you all on camera at once. Now I'm going to pause for a moment. Now that we have our foundation chain done in our color A, I'm going to pause for a moment and talk about the placement of my yarn. Now there is a lot of great tutorials out there and ideas in the digital world on how to work with multiple balls of yarn. And as you gain more experience with it, you will find the method that works best for you, whether it's using a special yarn bag or yarn bowls and keeping them sorted that way. What I did for my project is I laid my balls of yarn out like this in front of me in the order that they would appear according to the color block row that I was working on. So for this first part of the blanket, we're going to be working with our colors A and B. So I have lined them up in order for A, B, and then A, and then B if you are working the full blanket. Now as I worked, I preferred to keep them out in front of me like this. I pulled the yarn from the center of the ball, which if you know me is not a usual thing that I do, but this just kept the balls of yarn from rolling around all over the floor or seat, whatever I was sitting in. And then as I worked with the balls, I sort of came up with a system, and you will too, as far as when I crossed the balls over and moved them around, trying to keep my yarn from tangling as little as possible. So again, as you work, and you'll see me moving them here, but as you work on your own blanket, you will kind of come up with your own way of keeping your balls of yarn sorted. Okay. So I have done my chain today. I'm only doing a small swatch. I've chained 38. Now if you were looking at your pattern, it's going to tell you in row 1 with color A, you're going to single crochet in the 3rd chain from hook. And then you're going to begin this alternating pattern of a chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and then single crochet in the next stitch. And you're going to repeat that across for 13 more times, and that's going to give you the start of one block of color. Then it tells you to drop that color A. You're not going to fasten it off, but instead you're going to pick up your color B, single crochet in the next stitch, and then you're going to repeat that pattern of chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch across again for a total of 13 more times. So your block colors are going to be even. So I'm going, and then you're going to drop your color B, pick up color A, and you're going to repeat that again. So for that first row, you will see you're going to have, in the end, 3 blocks of your color A and 3 blocks of your color B along that bottom row. So that's where we are going with this. So today what I'm going to do is show you a little bit of that pattern. So the first thing you're going to do is single crochet in the third chain from your hook. So 1, 2, 3. You will see that at the beginning of each row you will always have a chain 2, and I will show you why when we come to the end. So I've single crocheted in the third chain from hook. Then I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to skip 1, and single crochet in the next chain. Okay, now in my pattern I would repeat that for 13 times, but here I'm only going to repeat it 4 more times. So chain 1, single crochet, skip 1, and single crochet in the next, chain 1, skip 1 chain, single crochet in the next, and I'm going to do that one more time. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and single crochet in the next. Now because this is my last single crochet before I change my color, in that last single crochet I'm not going to complete the stitch with my color A. This is where we're going to change colors. So I've done my single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 all the way across. I've come to the last single crochet. I'm going to insert my hook and drop a loop, but then I'm going to drop that color A. I'm simply going to set it aside. I'm going to then pick up my color B, if I can find my end here. Should have gotten it out before I started. I'm going to pick up my color B, and I'm going to complete the stitch with that new color, with the color B. And what that does is it sets me up to work my next color block. Okay, so then I've dropped my color A, I've picked up my color B, and now I'm going to single crochet in the next stitch, just to get that block of color started. Then I'm going to start that pattern again. I'm going to chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, pull out some yarn, there we go, skip 1, and single crochet in the next stitch. And if I was working my pattern, I would do that for a total of 14 times. So chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch. Now I'm going to come up to the next one and I'm going to change color again. So I'm going to chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet. But again, because I'm going to switch color, I'm not going to complete the stitch with that color B. I'm going to drop the color B. So now I have 2 balls of yarn that are being set aside. And I'm going to pick up my color A once again. And I will complete that stitch with my color A, just like that. So now I'm set up to do my next block with color A. I'm going to begin by single crocheting in the next stitch, and then I'm going to start that pattern again. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next, and with this next single crochet I'm going to change color. Chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet, but don't complete the stitch in your working color, my color A. Instead, I'm going to pick up again my new ball of yarn, my color B, and a new ball, and I'm going to complete the stitch with the color B. Then again, I will single crochet in the next stitch to get that block of color started, and then I'm going to continue on with the pattern. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next stitch, and one more time, chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet in the next stitch. And now I've come to the end of my row. And you can see the blocks of color starting. I have my color A, my color B, my color A, and then my color B. So I'm working with 4 balls of yarn. I haven't fastened anything off. I'm going to continue to work with those. So once you come to the end of the row, you will start to see these 6 blocks of color alternating A and B. And then you're going to start row 2. So for row 2, you're going to turn and chain 2, or chain 2 and turn. So I'm going to actually chain 2, and then I'm going to turn my work. Now this is where I like to move my balls around of yarn. So my working ball of yarn, the ball color B, I'm now going to move it over to the other side so that it doesn't get tangled up as I'm working with it. Okay, so I've chained 2. Then I am going to skip the first single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet in the chain 1 space. So now that you have this series of chain 1s and single crochets, it's easy to remember how to do this pattern because you are always going to chain 1 over top of a single crochet, and you will work your single crochets in those chain 1 spaces. So I've worked my chained 2, I've worked my first single crochet in that chain 1 space, then I'm going to chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space, and then you're going to come to the last single crochet before your color change. You will always work a single crochet in that stitch, in that last single crochet before the color change. You will always work the single crochet in that stitch, but remember, because it is right before your color change, you are not going to complete the stitch. You're going to drop that color, and then you're just going to pick up the color A, the next color. And you're just going to pick up the yarn that you had dropped before and just pull through to complete the stitch. And then you may need to pull your other threads a little bit tighter. Okay, so once you have pulled through, completed that stitch, you're going to work your first single crochet as always in that single crochet. Work in the next single crochet. And then you see a chain 1 space. So you're going to single crochet in that chain 1 space. Then chain 1, and you continue your pattern. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, and then again, once you have come to your color change, the last single crochet before your color changes, you're going to start that single crochet in that yarn. I'm going to move that ball of yarn over to the other side so it doesn't get tangled up. And then I'm going to pick up my color B, the one that I had dropped before, pick it up and pull it through to start the next color block. Then I'm going to single crochet in that first stitch, that first single crochet, and then I come to my chain 1 space, single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, single crochet in the next space. I've come to that single crochet before my color change, so I'm going to insert my hook, drop a loop, drop that color, move it over so it doesn't get tangled up, and pick up the color A that I had left behind before. Complete the stitch. Then I'm going to single crochet in that first stitch, single crochet in my chain 1 space, and then start the pattern. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space, and then chain 1, and I realize I've come to the end of the row and I can see my chain 2 there. Remember that chain 2 that you had at the beginning? So that's that chain 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my final single crochet in that chain 2. And it's really important that you remember to single crochet in the chain 2, because that is the way you are going to keep your edges straight. And because I don't do a border on this blanket, you're going to want your edges straight. So always remember to work one final single crochet in that chain 2 at the end. Okay, so then I'm going to move my ball of yarn over because I am going to start the 3rd row. I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to turn my work. Now, as you can see, you're starting to really see those blocks of color pop out as you're going. So I've worked my chain 2. I'm going to skip that first single crochet and I'm going to single crochet in the chain 1 space. And then I'm going to start that moss stitch pattern all over again. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, single crochet in the next space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space. Chain 1, skip 1, and now I'm going to work my final single crochet in that one before my color change. So I'm going to simply pull up a loop, but because I want to change my color, I'm going to drop the color I was working with. I'm going to pick up my new color that I left off from before and pull through, and then just pull my things tighter. Then I'm going to single crochet in that first stitch. I'm going to chain 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space, and I'm going to do that all the way across. Now by now, and then I come to my color change. So insert my hook, pull up a loop, drop that color I was working with, pick up the color that I left behind before, and pull through. Single crochet in that first stitch. So by now, hopefully you will have picked up and gotten a hang of that chain 1, single crochet in the chain 1 space pattern. And those are the only stitches that you need to know in order to work this blanket. Single crochet, chain 1, I've come to my color change again, insert my hook, pull up a loop, drop that color, pick up the color I left behind before, and pull through, and then single crochet in that first stitch. chain 1, oops, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, and then remember, when you come to the end, there's a chain 2 there. You want to insert your hook and work one final single crochet in that chain 2, and that keeps your stitch count correct. Pull back, and you can see your blocks of color. I'm just going to work a couple more rows here for you, and then I will show you how to break your yarn so that you can start working with 2 different colors. So I'll just work maybe 2 more rows. I'm going to chain 2, I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to skip the first single crochet in that chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the chain 1 space. I've come to the last single crochet before my color change. I'm going to insert my hook into it, drop a loop, but drop that yarn, move it over, drop that color, pick up the one I left behind before, and get ready to start. Single crochet in that first stitch, chain 1 space, single crochet in it, then chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. Move my yarn around, drop that color, and pick up my new color. Insert my hook, single crochet in that first single crochet, and then in the chain 1 space. I've come to the end, insert, pull up a loop, switch my yarn across, drop it, pick up my other color, single crochet in the first stitch. Then I'm going to single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. That is my sub pump that you are hearing. We are in the middle of lots of rain and spring in Canada, which means lots of wet ground. So the sub pump is a good thing. It pumps all the water out. Okay, I've come to the end again. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to move my ball of yarn around. You can see I kind of have a system worked out. You'll work out your own. I have chain 2. I'm going to skip the first single crochet in that chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet. Once you kind of get the hang of it, this is a blanket that is great to do in front of the television. You can kind of just work at it at your leisure. You don't need to think about special stitch techniques or anything like that. You just kind of follow the color blocks. There we go. And sometimes you might see when you switch colors it's a little loose. Just pull it a little tighter. Kind of neaten up that stitch a bit. Coming to my end, I'm going to drop it, switch colors, single crochet in the first stitch, then chain one all the way across. I come to the end, I remember to chain one and a single crochet in that last chain two, just like that. So by now I hope that's given you an idea of how to do that first block of color. Now you are going to do this in the pattern for a total of 25 rows. So when you look at your project like this, you will be able to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have just worked 4 rows of that moss stitch. So you're going to work a total of 25 rows, which should give you a fairly even, as long as your tension is similar to mine, should give you a fairly even block, square of color. And then after you reach that row 25, what you're going to do is you're going to fasten off these colors, because you're going to start working. Here we were working with colors A and B. Then when you come to row 26, you're going to start working with colors A and C. So what you want to do is you want to fasten each of these colors off, and you're going to do that simply by leaving a little bit of a tail, and you're just going to cut these. And you don't have to worry about them unraveling yet in your work, because of the way you've joined it kind of secures them. So you're going to cut those off. You're going to get rid of your colors color B, because you're not working with it anymore. Instead, for the pattern, we're going to be working with color A and color C. Now, of course, you are welcome to change up your color schemes as much as you would like, and then you can kind of play with it and give yourself any kind of colored pattern. Someone said that would look great as like a checkerboard. It could be kind of fun, so you'd only be working with 2 colors or whatever. Be creative. This is your project, and you can make it fit your own personal style and desire. Okay, so we're going to be working with our color A and then our color C. And in my pattern, the color C is this fisherman's white. Okay, so then I'm going to line up my balls of yarn again, and I'm going to go back to my pattern. So I've cut off all of my threads. It's not attached to anything anymore. Now I'm going to go back to the last stitch that I had just completed in my color B. And because my next block row, I want to work with the color A first, I'm going to change to the color A. So I'm just going to pull back my stitch a little bit. You can take it out completely, single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop. But because I want to change to my next color for the next row, I'm going to complete the stitch again at the end with my new color, with my color A, as according to my pattern. And then I'm going to work my chain 2, and I'm going to turn. Okay. Now, then I'm just going to start working that pattern again. Skip the first single crochet in this first space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space. Then I've come to the last single crochet before my color change. So I'm going to insert my hook, drop a loop, but I'm going to set that color aside. I'm going to pick up my new color, and I'm going to complete the stitch with the new color, just like that. Now this technique of changing colors is a technique that you can use across all of your crochet patterns. It's not exclusive to this, it's just a great way to change color no matter what you're working on, whether it be a blanket or a teddy bear. This is a great way to change color. So I've changed color. I'm going to single crochet in that first single crochet. Pull my strands a little tighter. Single crochet in the first chain space. Chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the chain space. I've come to the last stitch before my color change, insert my hook, drop a loop, drop that color that I'm working with, set it aside, and pick up the new color from the new ball of yarn. Pull through, tighten up my stitches, and then I'm going to begin single crochet in that first single crochet, then single crochet in my chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, and continue across to my last single crochet before the color change. I want to pick up my new color, color C, yarn over, and complete the stitch. Single crochet in that first stitch, single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, and continue all the way across to my final chain 2, chain 1, single crochet in that chain 2, and I've reached the end. Let me do one more row for you. So chain 2 and turn. At this point, I'm going to move my balls of yarn around. I'm going to skip that first single crochet in the first chain space, chain 1, single crochet. Come to my last single crochet before the color change, insert my hook, pull up a loop, set down the color I was working with, pick up my new color that I left behind before, and complete the stitch. Single crochet in the first stitch, chain 1, and single crochet across. Now, if you're a person who likes to weave in your ends as you go, you could have gone back and woven in those ends as you went. Right, today I'm just leaving them until I finish. Okay, so I'm switching to my new color, dropping the old one, picking up the new one, insert my hook, do the first single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. Change color, insert my hook, drop a loop, pick up the new color that I left behind before, insert, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. And I would have moved that ball of yarn across just to keep my balls untangled. And in the last chain 1, single crochet in that chain 2. There we go. So I'll just show you what it looks like. And of course, you will have woven in your ends, but you can see your nice blocks of color. And they will alternate over top of one another. In the next, I'll complete this block in the pattern. Again, it's all 25 rows, so 25 rows of colors A and C together, and then I'm going to switch my colors up again and fasten them all off, and I'm going to start working again with colors A and B for the next block row. And there you have it. So hopefully that has given you some of the tools that you will need in order to complete this row. It may seem a little bit daunting at first, especially working with more than one ball of yarn at once and keeping them untangled, but don't worry, as you go, you will sort of figure out your own groove and figure out your own way of keeping the balls of yarn straight. It is a great throw when you're finished, and if you're not a fan of sewing blocks together, this is a great way to complete it. And I just like the weight and just the subtle texture of this throw. It's not too heavy, yet it's not too light, and it just has this beautiful, solid, woven looking fabric. So thank you very much for joining me here on Rich Textures Crochet on YouTube. I hope that you found this video tutorial companion for the lavender throw helpful. As always, feel free to get in touch if you have any further questions through email, through Facebook. I'm also on Instagram at Rich Textures Crochet. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I look forward to bringing you more great free crochet patterns soon. Thank you very much. Happy crocheting. Bye.